This is our league, and this is your league. From the 55-yard line on CFL America Radio and the Sports History Network.
Stand by, 15 seconds to air. Stand by all cameras and videotape.
Ready with your opening graphics. Stand by, Howard. Here we come, Frank. Ready, Don.
Stand by audio, your opening music, and roll tape.
Take tape.
It all started in the autumn of 1967. A man who had started the Cleveland Browns on the shores of Lake Erie came to southwestern Ohio to form another football franchise. The team became the Cincinnati Bengals. The man was Paul Brown, already a giant in the football world. In a sport that demands perfection and shows little mercy for those who cannot keep up, Paul Brown stood alone as a legend. (1981), 14 years after the Bengals were created, Paul Brown and his team made it to Super Bowl XVI. When Paul Brown retired from the coaching scene in 1976, the Bengals suffered. 11-3 Paul's last season as head coach, then 10-4 in 76, 8-6 in 77, 4-12 in 79 and 80. Something had to be done. On December 28, 1979, a solution to the team's problem was found. Forest Gregg was hired and became the Bengals' fourth head coach. He, too, was a man linked to football glory, having played on those great Green Bay teams of Vince Lombardi in the 1960s. But his time had come to lead, and lead he did. For the past few seasons, the Bengals had earned the label of unrealized potential. Forest Gregg and his staff's first priority, redirect the players' potential in 1980 and begin to turn the Bengals from perennial losers into one of the NFL's powerhouses. In the final game of the 1980 season against the AFC Central Division Cleveland Browns, the rededication of the Bengals was apparent. The Browns won the game 27-24 and the Central Division crown, but the Bengals had regained respect in the league and, more importantly, in themselves. First half action, a hit on wide receiver Pat McAnally, and his return to the game in the second half proved to all the Bengals had responded to head coach Forest Gregg's discipline.
They go with the three wide receivers. Tight end is wing to the left. Back to throw is Thompson. Looks, fires upfield, is caught by McAnally. That goes down. The ball is fumbled. A flag is down on a play, however. McAnally was hit in the face, and they may call that unnecessary roughness. Tom Darden really flattened McAnally over the middle as he hit him in the face, and the penalty is going to be against the Cleveland Browns. Thompson back to throw. Cox's arm goes far downfield. There's McAnally. Catches it down at the 10-yard line, 5, and goes down at the 2. A great catch by Pat McAnally. It's a touchdown. He made it in. McAnally beat Ron Bolton along to Oliver Davis along the far sideline, and that ties up the ball game.
I really wanted to win the game, but the game that was important is I thought it was an important step for our franchise and our organization, and I respect Forest Gregg.
I think that we did make some progress in with this football team. I think the attitude itself is different now than from the first day that we walked in here. I think that our football players now believe that they can win, and that was one of the big things that we had to fight. And I feel like that if one thing that we accomplished this year is I felt like that at the end of the season that our players were looking forward to the next season with some great anticipation.
The Bengals in previous years had started slowly. 1978 started 0-8. 1979 began with a 1-7 record. 1980 spawned a 3-5 mark over the first half of the campaign. 1981, and what the Bengals needed was a good, fast start that would erase those recent memories of those first half season blues. However, when opening day arrived September 6th against the Seattle Seahawks in Cincinnati, it appeared that the Bengals' trademark was still with them. After one quarter, the scoreboard read Seattle 21, Cincinnati nothing. Bengals quarterback Ken Anderson was having a horrible afternoon, completing just 5 of 15 passes in the first quarter and throwing 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown. Backup quarterback was sidelined with a twisted ankle. Forest Gregg turned to third-string quarterback Turk Schonert, who had never played a down in regular season action. However, you never would have known it, as he got the Bengals back into the ball game.
Turk Schonert, a quarterback. He's gone all the way since Anderson was taken out in the first quarter. This time it's Archie into the right side. He is right down, touchdown. Archie Griffin fought his way in over right tackle, and now the Bengals are back within 2. One of the first guys to get to him and congratulate him is Schonert. So there's time out on the field with the score now. Seattle 21 and the Bengals 20.
Schonert was at his best in the fourth quarter. After narrowing Seattle's lead to 1 point, he orchestrated an 84-yard drive that would give Cincinnati a 27-21 victory and their first opening day win since 1976.
Shift out of the eye with Johnson directly behind Schonert. He gets it in over the right side. Touchdown. Pete Johnson into the end zone, and for the first time this afternoon, the Cincinnati Bengals have taken the lead over Seattle, a score of 26-21. So Breach will attempt the extra point. Kreider will hold. Collinsworth did a lot of holding, but Kreider has done it this afternoon. The ball is put down. Breach's kick is up and good. So there's a timeout on the field. The score now, the Bengals 27, the Seahawks 21.
The following week, the Bengals journeyed to the Big Apple and the New York Jets. And even though Turk Schonert showed signs of brilliance in Week 1 versus Seattle, Forest Gregg made an agonizing decision that would prove to be a stroke of genius. Ken Anderson would start over Turk Schonert. For the second week in a row, the men in those funny striped helmets came from behind to win. In the fourth quarter, the Bengals found themselves on the short end of a 23-17 score. But Ken Anderson, who was redeeming himself on this day, led a 67-yard drive that culminated in a 3-yard touchdown pass to Archie Griffin, and the Bengals were ahead to stay.
Third down and goal at the 3. Anderson back out into flat. Pete Johnson, it's a touchdown. Was it Pete Johnson or Griffin? He's so dirty. It is Archie Griffin off into the right flat. A 3-yard touchdown pass as Griffin motored out there, and the Bengals have tied up the football game. The lines are down. Ball is placed. Breach's kick is up in the air and good, and the Bengals take the lead at 24-23.
Just 31 seconds after that TD, Jets quarterback Richard Todd started the Jets comeback. But defensive end Mike St. Clair had different thoughts, and the Bengals were 2-0.
Todd again rolls out to his right. He escapes one man and goes down. The ball is fumbled back at about the 17. The Bengals pick it up and run it in for a touchdown. Picked up by Mike St. Clair when Todd fumbled the ball. And now the Bengals are out in front by 7 points and may have it put away with 3:03 left.
Week 3, the Bengals went down to defeat when the Cleveland Browns nipped them 20-17. But the following week, the Bengals continued their come-from-behind heroics, edging the Buffalo Bills 27-24 in overtime. Buffalo held a commanding 21-10 lead in the fourth quarter. However, Ken Anderson, having a sensational afternoon, hooked up with Steve Kreider on 2 occasions to put the Bengals on top 24-21.
Anderson is back to throw. Looks, fires down into the end zone. Touchdown to Kreider. It went right through the hands as Kreider spikes it right through the hands of Rufus Best. And the Bengals are back in the football game now at 21-16. Anderson back to throw. Looks, fires down into the end zone. Touchdown! No, they say he was beyond the end line. Kreider is really unhappy. Took that ball down in the deep corner. Now the other one says touchdown, and they change it. Now they change it. The Bengals are all down into the end zone. And Chuck Knox is going down. He is really mad. One official said no, he was out of bounds. Then the other one came along and overruled him. And the Bengals have the touchdown with 1 minute and 53 seconds left to go. Charging down into the end zone, Chuck Knox, the Buffalo coach. Both defenders down there arguing vociferously. And the Bengals have taken the lead 23-21. It is a touchdown.
Buffalo sent the game into overtime when Nick Mickemeyer tied the score with 1 second left on a 40-yard field goal. In overtime, the Bengals defense starred, shutting down the Bills' potent offense. And with 9:33 left in overtime, kicker Jim Breach calmly converted an 18-yard game winner.
Blair Bush will do the snapping. High snap, gets it down. The kick is up in the air, and it's good! And the Bengals win it in overtime over the Buffalo Bills, 27-24. Jim Breach being mobbed out of the field, and the stunned Buffalo Bills walk off, and the Bengals win it in overtime, 27-24.
Week 5, the Bengals' record dipped to 3-2 when they lost to the Houston Oilers in the Astrodome. Earl Campbell accounted for 182 yards rushing. Ken Stabler threw just 6 passes. Final score, 17-10 Oilers. But the Bengals quickly regained their winning ways the following week when they downed the hapless Baltimore Colts 41-19. Despite their glittering 4-2 record, Week 7, Sunday, October 18th, would be the proving point. It would be a battle for the division lead in the AFC Central. The arch-rival Pittsburgh Steelers were coming to town. Before a crowd of more than 57,000, the Bengals, routing the 4-time Super Bowl champions 34-7, left no doubt as to who had the better football team that day.
4-man rush. Anderson back to throw. Over the middle is caught by Verser. At the 40, down the middle of the field. He may go all the way. 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 10, 5, touchdown. David Verser picked that ball right up off his shoe tops. No flags are down on the play. He caught the ball about 7 or 8 yards down the middle. The Bengals had split the defensive backfield completely. He caught the ball at about the Bengals' 45-yard line, and nobody was close to him as he ripped right down the middle. A 73-yard touchdown pass, Anderson to Verser, and the Bengals have really shattered the Steelers here in the first minute and 40 seconds of this second half. So there's timeout on the field with the score now. The Bengals 20, the Steelers nothing. The ball is just on the 2-yard line, and they've got no more than about 6 inches maybe to go for the first down. And on 4th down, the Bengals are going to go for it. David Verser is the wingman to the right. Johnson and Alexander are in the eye. Now Verser goes in motion to the left side. Hand off to Pete. Left side pulls his way down in. Touchdown. Pete Johnson into the left side from 2 yards out. Scores for the second time, or was it Alexander carrying the ball? Charlie Alexander, the deep man, took the handoff, ripped in through the left side, and the Bengals go out in front now by a score of 26-0. Steelers ready to go at their own 20. Have a tight formation. Stallworth back in the ball game, or is in left side. Now Franco Harris in motion outside. Bradshaw dropping back to throw. Fires upfield. It is caught by Stallworth. He loses the ball, and the Bengals get it, I think, at about the 48 or 49. One of the Bengals picks it up and starts to run. Stallworth was really nailed. Reggie Williams came up and felt it in and picked up the ball, and the Bengals will take over at their own 49. Anderson back to throw. Has time. Going long down the sidelines for Collinsworth. It's complete. It goes right through the hands of the defender, and Collinsworth takes it on the 11-yard line. It bounced right through the hands of J.T. Thomas, who should have had an easy interception. And Mel Blount just throws his arms up into the air to say what else can happen. That should have been a sure interception, with J.T. Thomas going right down. Collinsworth, so alert, was right there to grab it as the ball fell out of his hands. It's at the Steeler 11. It is the first down. Anderson on play action, fires into the end zone. Touchdown, Pete Johnson. Anderson to Pete Johnson in the right flat for a touchdown. Ham, the left side linebacker, blitz, and he threw right into the vacant area. And the Bengals rolled it up now and go out in front 33-0.
The victory over Pittsburgh was a sweet one, to be sure. But as so often happens, the psyche developed for one particular encounter is lost for the next. That's what happened to the Bengals in Week 8. They played poorly and lost to the lowly New Orleans Saints 17-7. But this Bengals team was developing too much character to let any one single defeat deter them from their 1981 mission. The following game, they ripped apart the Houston Oilers, with the bulk of the damage coming in a 24-point second quarter blitz. Final score, Bengals 34, Oilers 21.
Going in motion that way is Verser. The handoff to Pete, cuts back, and he gets right down to the goal line. Touchdown. Pete Johnson pulled a tackler in from about 1.5 yards out as he cut in behind the flow. Veered to his left, and the Bengals now within 1 point of tying up this ball game. The kick is up, and the kick is good. So there's time out on the field with the score now. The Bengals 7 and the Oilers 7. Alexander back in the backfield. Collinsworth left, Curtis right. Anderson back to throw. Looks, fires down the middle. Flag down, but a touchdown to Dan Ross. Touchdown. touchdown. Vernon Perry looking for offensive pass interference. Dan Ross caught that one down the middle. Vernon Perry, I believe, is going to be assessed with a penalty, and the touchdown will stand. The Oilers have 4 defensive linemen. They're stunning. Anderson back to throw down the middle. The 10-yard line of 5. Touchdown, Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth took that shot over the middle. He eluded a tackler at the 5-yard line and went in for the touchdown. And the rookie from the University of Florida gives the Bengals a 21-7 lead. Anderson signals Curtis in motion. Anderson is back to throw. Throws down. Is caught by Ross. Touchdown. Dan Ross got away from Ted Thompson. The linebacker caught the ball at about the 2. And Isaac Curtis goes down to spike the ball. Back to a couple of balls flying around the field. Ross's second touchdown reception of the afternoon. And that ups the count to 33-7. The extra point is up, and it is good. So there's time out on the field. Well, the score now, the Bengals 34 and the Oilers 7.
The victory over the Houston Oilers. 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 The victory over the Houston Oilers began the November to remember. 5 straight blowouts. Next up, the San Diego Chargers. The result, a 40-17 thrashing with the Bengals scoring just about every way imaginable.
Anderson back to throw. Looks, fires into the end zone. Touchdown, Ike Curtis. The lines are down, waiting for the snap. Back to Kreider. He places the ball down. A kick by Breach is up and through the uprights. And there's time out on the field to score the Bengals 7 and the Chargers nothing. Kreider will put the ball down at the 33. Breach will try a 43-yard kick. Breach on the year, 13 out of 19. The lines are down, waiting for the snap. There's the snap back. Kreider puts it down. Breach's kick is up in the air. It is long enough, but it's good. Jimmy Breach hits from 43 yards out. And there's time out of the field at the end of the first quarter. With the score, the Bengals 10, the Chargers nothing. Hand off into the line. A leap over into the end zone. Alexander, touchdown. The ball is put down. The kick is up, and it is through. So it is a 24-7 ball game. It is first and goal at the Bengal 4. Williams and Chuck Muncy are the running backs now. Kellen Winslow goes out to the left. They bring the 2 wide receivers to the right. In the backfield, Muncy and Clarence Williams. Bounce with the ball, will drop back to throw. Fires off into the corner. It's intercepted in the end zone. Louis Breeden picks it off. Gets out to the 15. Running along the sidelines. Only one man in the way. Down to the 45 to the 40, and he will go for a touchdown. 15-10-5 touchdown. Louis Breeden just really shattered the San Diego Chargers as he intercepted a pass in the end zone, and he ran that one back 100 or 101 yards for a touchdown. And the Bengals, when it looked as though San Diego might score, now have a lead of 31-7. That is the longest return with an intercepted pass in the history of the Cincinnati Bengals.
With that victory, the Bengals record a respectable 7-3. Week 11, the Rams came to town, and the Bengals defense was awesome.
It's 3rd and 10 for the Rams at their own 27. Pastorini is back to throw, and he's going to be nailed. Reggie Williams flew right in from the right side. Pastorini flat on his back, and Reggie Williams with his 6th sack of the year. Dandy goes back to throw. Eddie Edwards in on top of him, knocks him down at the 9-yard line. Eddie Edwards just ran right over Pastorini, and Dante is down this time flat on his back. Eddie Edwards really bulldozed him. He just completely went right around the right tackle, Doug Smith. And Pastorini is still down on the ground. He really took a shot. There was nothing cheap about it. Edwards just hit him right in the chest and may have knocked the wind out of him. And chances are that might be the case.
When the Bengals defense wasn't getting to Los Angeles quarterbacks, the Bengals secondary took over. They picked off 4 passes, 3 of which led to Cincinnati touchdowns in this 24-10 conquest.
Both teams bunched in tightly at the 3. Anderson is back to throw. Look, lobs it out. Pete Johnson, touchdown. Pete Johnson came out of the backfield to the left, dropped the ball right about at the goal line, held on to it, and Max Montoya, his designated spiker, comes over and bangs the ball down. And the kick is up, and it is through. So there's time out on the field. With the score now, the Bengals 10, the Rams nothing. Mercer in motion to the right. Anderson, the handoff. Pete Johnson, touchdown. Pete Johnson barreled into the right side. And the Bengals out to congratulate him, and the Bengals now take a 16-3 lead. Ball ball is about 4 feet away, and it will be 4th down. Thompson signaling for quiet as he comes up to the line of scrimmage. He sends David Verser in motion over to the right side. Thompson hands it off. Touchdown! Pulling into the right side of the line was Pete Johnson. Pete Johnson's 3rd score of the afternoon, and Anthony Munoz spikes this one. So there's time out on the field. With the score now, the Bengals 24 and the Rams 3.
The beat continued in Week 12 when the Denver Broncos brought the NFL's #1 defense to Riverfront Stadium. On this afternoon, the Bengals tarnished the Broncos, but good, gaining 671 yards, with Ken Anderson doing the bulk of the damage through the air, 396 yards worth. When Anderson wasn't passing the ball, he gave it to Pete Johnson or kept it himself. Everything resulted in points.
Hand off into the right side. Pete Johnson down to the 30. 25-20 down to the 15. Still on his feet. 5. Touchdown. Pete Johnson ripped through the right side and went 39 yards for a touchdown. And the Bengals go out in front 6-0. The longest touchdown run of the year. And the only safety back there, Billy Thompson, had no chance. Pete just ran right through his arms. And there is the spike and the dance by Max Montoya down in the end zone. The ball is placed. Breach's kick is up, and it is good. So the Bengals take a 7-0 lead on the 39-yard touchdown romp by Pete Johnson. Johnson, Alexander in the backfield. The backs are in an eye. Handoff. Alexander dives over. No, it's carrying the ball around the right side. Anderson, he is in for the touchdown. Great fake by Kenny Anderson. Charles Alexander became airborne. I thought he had the ball. And then Anderson rolled around to his right and just got into the end zone before he was slammed out of bounds. And the Bengals go out in front by a score of 20-7. Anderson again back to throw. It's a 3-man rush. Looks, fires down, touchdown, right down the middle. Caught by Collinsworth. And he really eluded Aaron Kyle right under the goalpost. And the Bengals have added another one now to take a 27-7 lead. This crowd at Riverfront Stadium really up, howling on its feet as the Bengals lead with a 28-7 halftime lead. Blair Bush does the snapping. Kreider will put it down. There's the snap. The ball is down. The kick by Breach is up, and this one is good. So Jim Breach nails it from 37 yards, and there's timeout on the field. The score now, the Bengals 31 and the Broncos 7. Anderson back to throw, looking, still looking. Fires upfield, Alexander at the 45, 50 down to the 40. Only one man at the 25 to the 20, the 15, 10, 5 touchdown. Charlie Alexander took a little pass over the middle, reaches up in the stands to clap the hands of a fan. A 65-yard touchdown pass, wide open over the middle, and Alexander ran the last 55 yards, and the final man was given a fake, and Alexander cut to the outside and had just too much speed for him. Boy, the crowd down there loved it. One of the guys reached down, Alexander clapped his hand, and that guy will be talking about that for the next 11 years. Crowd up on his feet. Ross Browner raising his hand, saying, we're number one. It is the best record in the AFC at 9-3. 12 seconds left, down to 10. The Broncos won't stop it, and the Bengals will not run another play. Don Bass waves his hands around. 5 seconds left. The clock is running out, and the Bengals have knocked off the Denver Broncos to hold on to a 2-game lead in the AFC Central Division and post the best record in the AFC, now with a mark of 9-3. Once again, our final score from Riverfront Stadium, the Bengals 38, the Denver Broncos 21.
As the stadium emptied, the Bengals had themselves another impressive victory, this by a 38-21 score. The November to remember ended in Cleveland's Municipal Stadium, November 29th. The Bengals seeking to avenge their early season's defeat, and that they did, trouncing the Browns 41-21. Again, the pass rush was incredible as they got to Browns quarterback Brian Sight 5 times. However, the real stars of this game were the offensive line. They gave Anderson such outstanding protection that he threw 4 touchdowns through to Chris Collinsworth and 2 others to Pete Johnson and M.L. Harris.
The back split now. Anderson goes back to throw. It's a 3-man rush. Kenny going long down the field, intended for Collinsworth. He leaps, and did he come up with a touchdown? A great catch by Collinsworth amidst 2 Brown defenders. Right back there was Ron Bolton, and Collinsworth used those 6 feet 4 inches and went high into the air and just pulled the ball away from Good and Bolton at about the 2-yard line, wrestled his way into the end zone. All the Bengals down there congratulating Collinsworth after a brilliant catch. Kenny Anderson's second touchdown pass of the afternoon, and the Bengals jumping all over the Browns here early in this first quarter. It is now 13-0. Anderson again back to throw. A late blitz is on, but he has time. Down into the end zone. Touchdown to Collinsworth. Collinsworth caught it a couple of yards from the end line, and the Bengals are out in front 20-0. And Kenny Anderson is just making mincemeat of this Cleveland Browns secondary. And there's Max Montoya, Collinsworth designated spiker on that one. So a 7-yard touchdown pass from Anderson to Collinsworth. The second time that duo is hooked up this afternoon. And the Bengals really pouring it to the Browns here, 21-0 with 4 minutes and 14 seconds gone in this second quarter. Alexander and Pete Johnson in the backfield. Running back is Anderson, rolling out to his right. He might be able to run it in, throws it into the end zone. Touchdown. Deep against the baseline, M.L. Harris.
In between throwing passes, Anderson gave the ball to Pete Johnson. On this day, Johnson rushed for 105 yards, including 2 touchdowns, as the Bengals rolled to their 5th consecutive victory, improved their record to 10-3, and gave Forest Gregg his first victory over his former employer.
Again is Pete Johnson in over the left side, down to the 5, down to the 1, touchdown. Pete Johnson just ran right through Tom Darden at the 4-yard line and hardly slowed up. So Pete Johnson rips in 11 yards for the touchdown, a big hole on the left side, and Pete in that 250 pounds really did the job and bowled in for his first rushing touchdown of the afternoon. He caught the first touchdown pass from Kenny Anderson, and now the Bengals pad their lead and lead it 34-14. Alexander and Johnson wing to the right behind Kenny, both lines in tightly. They bring a man in motion over down pass. It's Johnson right side, touchdown. Pete Johnson threw the right side for 1 yard, and the Bengals now go out in front by a score of 40-14. It's a new team record scoring-wise, along with many other ones. Jim Breach's extra point is good. There's time out on the field. With the score now, the Bengals 41 and the Browns 14.
The November to remember had ended. Final tally, 5 games played, 5 won. The Bengals had outscored their opponents 177-90. They stood at 10-3 with a 2-game lead in the AFC Central. But the next week, the San Francisco 49ers got to the Bengals. They turned the ball over 6 times. Final score 21-3. These two teams weren't through yet. They didn't know it at the time, but they were Destiny's darlings for 1981. Week 15, the Bengals stood at 10-4 and faced the Steel Curtain in Three River Stadium with the AFC Central Division title on the line. Ken Anderson fought off a foot injury, rifled a pair of touchdowns to Isaac Curtis and Steve Kreider. The Steelers, without Terry Bradshaw, were beaten 17-10. And the AFC Central Division crown belonged to the guys in the funny hats.
So here we are ready to go. Collinsworth and Curtis go left. Now Kreider will come out of the backfield and go to the right. Pete Johnson, the only man back with Kenny. Now he'll send Curtis in motion over the right side. Anderson goes back to throw. Down in the end zone, touchdown to Curtis. Curtis came in motion over to the right. The Steelers defense completely confused. And Curtis about 2 yards in the end zone, running laterally over toward the sideline, took that pass wide open. And a guy who is really disgusted is Donnie Shell. And he has taken off his helmet and is marching dejectedly back toward the center of the field. So a 2-yard touchdown pass from Anderson to Isaac Curtis. And would you believe that that is only Isaac Curtis's second touchdown pass of the year? Here's a big extra point attempt right here by Jim Breach. Bengals lead at 9-3, bidding to make it 10. Kreider will hold it. The ball is snapped back. The kick is up, and he puts it through, and the Bengals will have a 10-3 lead. Anderson with the ball. The blitz is on. Is back to throw. Throws it over the middle. Is caught by Kreider. At the 20. Spins away to the 15. 10, 5. Touchdown. Anderson to Kreider. Kreider took a little dink pass, eluded a Steeler with a good spinning move down at about the 14 or 15-yard line. And all of his teammates down in the end zone to congratulate him. And the Bengals take a 16-3 lead. So for Steve Kreider, who has really come along fine as a receiver this year, his 5th touchdown pass. Now he'll hold. Puts the ball down on the ground. Breach's kick is up, and it is good. So with 1 minute and 47 seconds left, the Bengals have really stilled this crowd here at Three Rivers. Bengals all patting each other on the back on the far sidelines as they have won this Central Division Championship over the Steelers 17-10. And now the Steelers are starting to walk off the field because the final time will run out, and the Bengals have taken this Central Division title 17-10. And the Bengals have done most of their celebrating over in the sidelines, getting down toward the dressing room, a few stopping down on the field. The Bengals held off the last Steelers threat as they got down to the 32-yard line here in the fourth quarter. All the Bengals congratulating each other. This one undoubtedly will knock the Steelers out of any playoff possibility, but that, of course, will be determined by what happens to other ball clubs. So the Bengals, for the first time since 1973, are the Central Division champions. Once again, our final score from Three Rivers Stadium. The Bengals 17 and the Steelers 10.
The Bengals closed out the season the following week with a 30-28 victory over Atlanta. They finished 12-4, the best record in the conference, and the memories of back-to-back 4-12 seasons were forgotten. And a metamorphosis took place in the stadium and the city. Black and orange faces replaced frowns. Banners covered the walls of Riverfront. Songs began to appear. Conservative Cincinnati had fallen head over heels for those striped helmets. Bengal Mania was born. The Bengals had never won a playoff game. 1970, they lost to Baltimore. 73, they lost to Miami. And in 1975, were beaten by Oakland. In 1981, the Bengals' 12-4 record assured them of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Sunday, January 3rd, Riverfront Stadium, the Buffalo Bills again. Remember back during the regular season when these two teams played a thriller that was finally won by Cincinnati in overtime? This game would be quite similar. The Bengals came out smoking, scoring on their first two possessions. The first touchdown was set up by a nifty Mike Fuller punt return, and the other by a Ken Riley interception.
Mercer comes in motion to the near side. Hand off into the line. Alexander up the middle, right down near the goal line before he stopped. Touchdown, he made it. Charlie Alexander rips for 4 yards straight up the middle. Just hit the goal line before he was stopped and shoved back, and the Bengals have quickly drawn first blood here on their first possession. 8:56 left, and this crowd here at Riverfront Stadium loves it. The lines are down waiting. A high snap. Kreider gets it down, and Breach's kick is good. A high snap from Bush, but Kreider did an excellent job of getting the ball on the ground properly. There's timeout on the field with the score. The Bengals 7 and the Bills nothing. Second down and just inches. This time it's Pete. Left side touchdown standing up. Pete Johnson jumps up and sprouts the ball in the end zone as the Bengals go out in front of the Buffalo Bills. 13-0. Breach's kick is up and through. So there's timeout on the field. With the score now, the Bengals 14 and the Bills nothing.
However, the Bills were not going to roll over and play dead. They came bouncing right back to tie it early in the second quarter. But Ken Anderson was still toying with the Buffalo defense. On the Bengals' next possession, he marched his troops 65 yards down the field with Charles Alexander going the final 20.
Play a handoff. Alexander to the 15, down to the 10, 5, touchdown! Charlie Alexander ripped 20 yards through the right side of the line. Had a big hole over there as Mike Wilson, Blair Bush, and Max Montoya opened it up. And the Bengals go back on top now by a score of 20-14.
It stayed this way until early in the fourth quarter when Buffalo's Joe Ferguson hit Jerry Butler with a 21-yard scoring strike. Then back came the Bengals again. With the ball at their own 42 and facing a 3rd and 1, just about everyone expected the ball to be given to burly Pete Johnson. But from high above in Riverfront Stadium, quarterback coach Lindy Infante sent down a play that was about to break this game wide open.
Steve had the big play, Kreider, to set the thing up. He had the big 50-yarder or whatever it was to set the play up, which was probably the biggest play of the ball game.
Now Anderson sends Curtis in motion, and Anderson will go back to throw. Out in the flat is caught. The 45 by Kreider, down the sideline to the 40, down to the 35, the 30, 25, 20, and all the way down to the 17-yard line. The Buffalo defense relaxed along the sidelines. They thought that Kreider might have been out of bounds.
Yeah, it was a play we put in expressly for that situation. Bills are prone to playing man coverages in that situation, and I ran a little turnout, and the ball showed up. I turned and looked, and shoot, there was nobody there. I said, I might as well keep running with this thing. So I made a few moves, and Isaac did a great job for me on the sideline, screening off the two Bills that were closest. And then I took it down the field and cut back underneath the safety and got a bunch more.
From there, it was a piece of cake.
Collinsworth left. Kreider back in, is in a slot left, and Curtis is to the right. Anderson with the ball goes back to throw. It's that four-man rush. Looking, fires upfield. Touchdown right down the middle to Collinsworth. Collinsworth completely got away from Steve Freeman at about the 7-yard line, right down the middle, and took that ball, went into the end zone, and all his teammates back down in the end zone to congratulate Collinsworth. He really made a great move in toward the middle. Anderson hit him a little bit below the waist, and he just scampered about another 7 yards. And there is the spike by Anthony Munoz, who is the designated spiker for Chris Collinsworth.
Me and Kreider over there arguing in the huddle over who should get the ball. And but I guess Kenny decided to go with me. But it's the old, we call it a smash, just because you go smash into the guy, and then you break off of him depending on which way, whichever way he tries to take you, and he just whichever way he pushes you, I just go that way.
Steve Kreider will do the holding. Ball is put down. The kick is up, and it is good. So there's time out in the field. With the score now, the Bengals 28 and the Buffalo Bills 21.
The Bills got one more shot at it, but Joe Ferguson lost track of time, and this one was over.
4th down and 4. The possibility the ball game could ride on this play right here. Buffalo now has 2 timeouts left. They'll send Lewis and Jesse off to the right. Bring Jerry Butler over to the left. Now Bobby Kemp comes over to cover Lewis. 4th and 4. Ferguson in the shotgun. There's the snap back to Ferguson. He's looking, fires down in the flat, is caught, and the man is out of bounds at the 14-yard line. It'll be a first down. It was caught over there by Lou Picone, but a whistle and a flag down, and we're going to get a penalty against Buffalo.
Delay of game. The clock went off before the ball was
Oh,
snapped.
they did not quite beat the time clock. Gary Burley will go in as the 4th lineman. This crowd really up on his feet as the Bengals are just 2 seconds, barring a Buffalo miracle, away from winning their first playoff game and moving to the AFC Championship game next Sunday against San Diego right here at Riverfront Stadium. Ray Griffin checks into the ball game now, and the Bengals have 6 defensive backs in the ball game now, 2 linebackers and 3 defensive linemen. Mike Fuller, who's in the middle, the crown man, is all the way back close to midfield. So Ferguson takes it. Time is out. And he fires it far downfield, up into the air. Jumped up, knocked down, the ball game is over. The Bengals spill out onto the field as they have won their first playoff game ever, 28-21 over the Buffalo Bills. And now it'll be the rematch with the San Diego Chargers next Sunday here at Riverfront Stadium to decide the AFC Championship and the berth in the Super Bowl 3 weeks from today up in the Silver Dome in Detroit.
So the Bengals were in the AFC Championship game for the first time ever against the San Diego Chargers, who had beaten the Miami Dolphins in a game that seemingly would never end. The game was to be played at Riverfront Stadium on Sunday, January 10th. It proved to be a game for the record book. The reason? As game time approached, it was 9 degrees below zero with a howling wind that brought the wind chill factor down to minus 59 degrees. The coldest NFL game ever played.
Oh, it was more than cold out there. At one point in time, I thought my lungs totally disappeared. I didn't feel no feet, no hands. It was just gone on pure gut. It was rough. That's the coldest I've ever been in my life.
Cincinnati's game plan started at the coin toss. They won the toss and elected to play the win, placing San Diego's Air Coryell into an even more precarious position.
Very gutsy decision, really. I mean, we all talked about it prior to the game, and I don't think any of us as assistants wanted to make the big bold statement, that's what I'll do, but Forrest thought it was a good decision, and it turned out super. Anytime you decide to kick off to a team like San Diego, sometimes I think can backfire and hit you in the face.
And it worked. The Bengals got on the scoreboard first when Jim Breach booted home a 31-yard field goal. Then on the ensuing kickoff,
Breach kicks down. It'll be a short kick down the middle. It'll come down to Brooks at the 10. Comes up to the 15, to the 20. Loses the ball. A dive for him. The Bengals may have it down at the 11-yard line. They do. Don Bass has the ball.
2 plays later,
At the Charger 8-yard line. 1 back now. 2 tight ends. Anderson back to throw. Looks down into the end zone. Touchdown. M.L. Harris. Touchdown for 8 yards. He beat Glenn Edwards completely, and the Bengals are out in front by a score of 9-0.
The game was just 8 minutes old, and the Bengals had a 10-0 lead. In the second quarter, when he finally got the wind to his back, Dan Fouts found Kellen Winslow in the end zone to make it a 10-7 game. On the Bengals' next possession, Anderson illustrated he could throw the ball into a frigid wind, as he did on 4 occasions before letting Big Pete Johnson take it in from the 1. The Bengals finally put the game on ice when with 6:52 left. Anderson went to the air and found a most unlikely receiver.
The backs again offset to the left. Bring one in motion. Alexander looking for a pass. Anderson throws. Touchdown to Don Bass. Don Bass scores his first touchdown of the year. Across the middle, and the Bengals fall out in front of the Chargers, 26-7. So now Jim Breach will try the extra point. Steve Kreider will hold, and the Bengals now may have put this AFC title away. The lines are down. The snap by Kreider. The kick is up, and it's good. So there's timeout on the field. The score now, the Bengals 27, the Chargers 7. That one right there should do it.
Jim Breach later added a 38-yard field goal to account for the final score of 27-7. And believe it or not, the Bengals were going to the Super Bowl.
Only 8 seconds remain on the clock. That is all there is. And the Bengals have won their first AFC championship. The Bengals gathering down at the sidelines, congratulating each other, patting each other on the back. And Forest Gregg will undoubtedly get a ride out of Riverfront Stadium by his players. 27-7. They have defeated the San Diego Chargers. The Chargers will get the punt and maybe have time for one more play. Maybe not. If the ball rolls around loose, everything could go right here. McAnally standing back at about the 1. There's the snap back, a big rush, he gets it away. Just hangs it up in the air. It will bounce at the 45. Comes back, there it is. Time is out, and the Bengals are AFC champions. Forest Gregg up on the shoulders of his players, going out toward the center of the field. And would you believe the Bengals have gone from 6-10 to the 1982 Super Bowl.
We were convinced that we were a tougher football team than San Diego was, and I think that made a big difference. We knew going into this game that this was not their kind of weather, and that all we had to do was get down with it and play hard and play aggressive, and things should come our way.
I'll just meet everybody up North 75 in a couple weeks.
January 24th, 1982. The Bengals took the field at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan to do battle with the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers for the World Championship of Professional Football. The composure that was Cincinnati's throughout the long season was missing in the first half. They found themselves down by a 20-0 score. But in the second half, they came out battling, determined to make a game of it.
Slot left with Curtis and Collinsworth. Backs in an eye. It's a pitch back to the deep man, Griffin. Sends it back to Anderson. Kenny steps up. Fires on the flat at the 20-yard line. Isaac Curtis catches the ball and had to go to his knees. And a flag is down as somebody rammed the helmet into Curtis and piled on when he was down when all they had to do was touch him. A little razzle-dazzle unveiled. And the 49er culprit over there is Eric Wright, who likes to throw you an elbow, anything like that, any opportunity he gets. Curtis had the dive for that ball, pulled it in at the 23, and that will cost him half the distance to the goal line right there. Here's a big 3rd and 5 play at the 6. Bengals have 3 men lined up in what looks like an old-fashioned T. Now Curtis will come out in motion, and Anderson will go back to throw. Now he's going to run. 10-5, touchdown! Kenny Anderson dives into the end zone for a touchdown on a 6-yard run, and the Bengals finally get on the scoreboard, and a 49er down on the goal line is shaken up where he was hit by one of his own teammates. So there's time out on the field with the score now, the 49ers 20 and the Bengals 7.
They soon came knocking again, but this time they were vanquished by a strong 49er goal line stand. But that did not deter them. The next time they got their hands on the football, they made sure they were not denied.
Kreider goes to the left with Curtis and Collinsworth. Now Kreider will go in motion to the right side of the field. Anderson will go back to throw. Looks, fires into the end zone. Touchdown to Dan Ross. Dan Ross right down the middle again, maneuvered away from Williamson, and the teammates of his mob him down in the end zone. And now the Bengals are right back in this football game, and And an extra point here, of course, would put the Bengals within 6. So there's timeout on the field with a score now. The 49ers 20 and the Bengals 14.
San Francisco could muster little offense at this point, but what little they did resulted in a pair of field goals that gave San Francisco a 26-14 lead. The clock was now working against the Bengals, but they weren't quitting. With 10 seconds left, Ken Anderson hit Dan Ross with a 4-yard scoring strike. For Ross, it was his 11th reception in the game, a Super Bowl record.
Anderson again, back to throw, looks, fires into the end zone, touchdown to Dan Ross. Ross gets his second touchdown pass of the game, his 11th pass reception, a new Super Bowl record. It is now a 26-20 ball game. Lines are down, waiting for the snap. It's high, Breach's kick is up, and it is good. So it is a 26-21 football game.
It was a sad finish to an otherwise great season, but the Bengals had accomplished so much. Individually, Ken Anderson was named the most valuable player in the NFL. Chris Collinsworth became the team's first 1,000-yard receiver. Pete Johnson became the first Bengal running back since 1968 to gain 1,000 yards. Forest Gregg was named the AFC Coach of the Year.
We've had a great year, and we've really appreciated your support all through this season. 2 weeks ago when we played San Diego, it was a very, very cold day, but you helped warm the stadium up for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, I tell you, it's been a thrilling year for us, and the players have really appreciated the support of our fans and of the coaching we received, and we're just itchy for next year to begin. Thank you.
As a team, the Bengals record read 12-4, American Football Conference champions. Their 27-7 victory over San Diego in minus 59-degree temperatures may be remembered as the finest performance ever by an NFL team. They were 6 points short of a world championship. The players, the coaches, the fans, and the city had tasted success in 1981. In '82, they'll try for a mouthful.